Welcome to SlamCast, where we chat with creatives about their process and how they navigate the grind of promoting themselves. We're your hosts. I'm Brea.
I'm Neil. We're both producers and studio technicians here at Slam Academy, an in-person and online music school based in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And today we are here with Alden Groves, aka Evoke, a non-binary singer, rapper, producer, and multi-instrumentalist based in Queens, New York.
Let's give it a free Evoke.
Crowd, go.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm truly delighted to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, this is our first late night recording session, so it feels kind of mysterious.
It's very New York also.
Ooh, nice.
I'm just in for the week, and so it's super serendipitous. I'm super happy to be able to come in and have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
Cool.
Thank you. Yeah, we're excited to have you in.
Yeah. We want to start and go back to day one. Baby Evoke.
Baby Evoke.
If you would.
Baby Evoke.
Like how'd you get your start into music? And
yes. Oh, great question. It is, so I originally got into music kind of like ass backwards a little bit, because when I want to say like 10 or 11 or maybe 12, I got very into the video game Guitar Hero.
Yes.
And I got so good at the game Guitar Hero and was showing my dad. I would be like, Dad, come watch me play a song. Dad, come watch me play a song. And he eventually was like, listen, do me a favor. I'm going to get you a guitar. You need to actually learn to play it, because he didn't want to watch me just play this video game, especially,
right.
you know, like he's like, yeah, sure, it's fun. But I got so into it. And
there's no shame.
Thank you. I needed that today.
That's how I got into guitar too.
Is that true?
With Guitar Hero, not my dad telling me, but yes, Guitar Hero. And I'm like, I could just play a real guitar and then grabbed a real one.
Yeah, it's like what's the word? It's the
gateway drug.
Thank you. Yes, it's the gateway drug to real guitar. Microdosing guitar.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I got a guitar that way, and then just gradually from there, I got to a point where I was really frustrated, because there's a lot of tones you can pull out of a guitar, but there's only so many tones you can pull out of a guitar. And I didn't have any sense of electronic music. It was like, it wasn't that long ago, but it was long enough ago that it was Deadmau5. Like Skrillex hadn't even happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, it wasn't like now where like kids want to be electronic music producers. That was not as much of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm 100 years old. And at the time I was getting really frustrated with, there's only so many pedals, and then you are like, well, but I'm still not. And then I heard Cities of the Future by Infected Mushroom.
Ooh.
And there is one sound in that it's funny, because I got into electronic music because I don't know how they made that sound, and I still only have the vaguest idea. Years and years later. I wish I knew
what sound you were talking about.
Yeah, it goes ow, 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 ow. So
that sounds like acid.
Okay.
That narrows it down, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's just like some very clever use. It's just like, because it's just really good vibrato, really good use of the mod wheel. It's something that is on paper probably relatively simple, but just executed so well that it sounds phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I heard that and I was like, how does one even do this?
Around how old were you when you heard this kind of music?
14.
Oh.
Yeah.
Pre-teen or a little beginning teenager.
Baby Evoke for
nice.
sure. For sure. And from there, just started getting more and more into electronic music, started producing my own stuff. Originally started out with, I don't know if you know like what a MIDI tracker is. Is that a familiar concept to you?
Heard of that term, don't know what it is.
It looks like an Excel spreadsheet. And instead of like on Ableton, the timeline obviously goes from left to right. On Tracker, it goes from the top down. And it's, again, it looks like an Excel spreadsheet. So you have just rows and rows of grids, and you would type in, you would be like F5, and you would set like how long each grid is. So it's like, it was free.
Yeah.
And it was just like the most like spreadsheety, like entry level but bizarre like video game music making software. But it had VST support, so I could load in plugins. And eventually, again, like with the Guitar Hero thing, I loaded in enough plugins that it was like, I should probably get a real, real piece of software. And from there got into FL and then got into Ableton.
Nice.
Okay.
So that's how I started producing.
Did you have a computer when you were like 14 and 15 to be able to, is that all this stuff translated on the computer?
Yes. It was my high school experience was, I think, how a lot of people's college experience was. My high school experience was like crazy tumultuous. So I want to tell you the story in that context, which is that the computer I had because a friend of mine had stolen a different computer out of someone else's car. I was like,
Nice.
I don't need this computer anymore. You can have this one. So it was like this really old, like beat up laptop that was, I remember I had to, in order to make adjustments to my song, I would tweak something and I would render it out and listen to it because it was lagging so much that I couldn't listen in real time.
Whoa.
So I'd be like, that's too loud. I would turn it down, render it out, go and listen to it, and be like, nope, now that's too quiet. Turn it slow. It's like,
Ah,
oh my gosh.
you must have really loved what you were doing.
Well, yeah. And and it is this thing of I try to bring that philosophy into my life now because it's so easy to just like buy stuff. Right? You're like, oh, I could make good music if only I bought this thing. I could make good music if I only had this plugin or this. It's like, I didn't feel that way when I was 14. You know,
Yeah.
I would bring my busted laptop into math class and they would say, here's work time for your math project. And I'd be like, great. And I would open up my computer and start making beats instead of working on my math projects. You know, it was, I had what I had. And I think that I try to remember that and bring that into what I'm working on now because the tool is rarely the issue. It's like you can make,
Yeah.
you know, I think Burial made all of the album Burial or Untrue in Audacity, you know, just with no beat grid, just loading in sounds from like Metal Gear Solid and stuff like that. Like some of the best electronic music albums of all time have been made with nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really goes to show for passion and how that makes you so resourceful
Yeah,
into whatever you
absolutely.
really want to be doing. With
absolutely.
a little that you have. So that's cool. And I also read that you grew up in Colorado, right? On your
Yes.
website?
Yes, Boulder area. Boulder
Sweet.
area.
When you're coming up, what kind of music was around that was like motivating you to kind of get into music or stuff that you'd want to be playing with?
Yeah, so there was a healthy rave scene in Colorado, not so much in Boulder, although back then there actually was like a club in Boulder called The Root. It closed down a long time ago, but there was, you know, the Denver rave scene is healthy. It was EDC, it was a lot of underground raves, but also some supermassive raves like I can't remember the names of any of them off the top of my head, but I was going to raves at like age 14, 15, 16. We would, you know, get in a car and be like, they'll drop us off there and we'll figure out how we'll get home
Nice.
at 3:00 in the morning. And
For
so
sure.
that was very much my genesis was in that.
Colorado does have an amazing bass scene, or
Especially
EDM
now.
scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the artists that like are kind of just live there, are like the music coming out of there is very good.
Mm-hmm.
Just watching that come up. And so in Colorado, how old are you now?
I am sorry, I just turned 30 like recently.
Happy
Oh, okay.
birthday.
Thank
You're
you.
very
Yeah,
welcome.
happy
Yeah.
birthday.
So it's interesting to talk about stuff that happened half my life ago and be like, yeah,
Right.
50% of Alden ago, I was doing this. Yeah. So it's been a journey. It's been a journey since then. And coming up in the rave scene, it's interesting because like there's no way around it that addiction and the rave scene, there's for sure, you know, some situations happening there. And for me, that was definitely a part of my story was that I got clean and sober when I was 17 years old because it was just like from 14, 15, 16, going to raves,
Yeah.
getting involved with people that were doing worse and worse and worse stuff.
Yeah.
It was like I got clean when I was 17 and I've been clean and sober since then. So
Nice.
awesome.
thank you.
Yeah, congrats, because that's hard to navigate, especially in that music scene. For
Yes.
And so young, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With all the peer pressure I'm sure that you were exposed to. Because today's day and age, I think it's a little bit different with peer pressure.
I hope
People are
so.
more understanding.
Yeah,
I
At
hope
least from
so.
my point of view.
me too.
But I'm also almost your age, too. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and that's a big part of why I make a point of talking about it is because it's like one of the things that I remember people saying, like in the treatment center that I went to, other artists in there, was like, "Oh, I just hope that I don't lose my creativity."
Yeah.
You know, people
Mhm.
are so afraid of losing their creativity when they get sober, and it's like that was not my experience.
Yeah.
My experience was like, I'm okay, and being okay is a great time to work on music.
Yeah.
You know, like it's
And
you know.
safe.
safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you're lying on the floor just like in agony, it's like, yeah, that's not necessarily conducive to like a wonderful studio experience.
Right.
No.
So did you grow up around your friends that were also other artists trying to do the same thing as you?
Yes, I would say so. In high school, it was a lot of people that were just, I mean, we were high schoolers, right? So kids making beats, and
Sure.
we didn't have, formal education in it. And so we were all bad at it, but it was
Yeah.
like, we were all having fun,
Yeah.
My first song ever is actually still on YouTube, and it's not, it's not good,
Yeah.
but it was, 2009. But yeah, I grew up around a lot of artists. And I will say that one of the things that I think moved me from being like kid making beats to producer, where I'm like proud of that and I'm
Yeah.
proud of the work that I do, was meeting Frequent. I don't know if that's a familiar name to either of you.
I don't know.
Really, really amazing producer. I would say one of the most talented sound designers I've ever met in my life. And he was based in Colorado, truly about a 10-minute walk from where I live. We both entered this remix competition for AU5, and he ended up winning it. But we both heard each other's submissions and looked and was like, oh, you live down the street. So we were like, well, let's meet up.
Nice.
And had my first like label release collaborating with him.
Oh, dope.
And it led to, we started way back then a label called Upscale. And it ended up being this like community hub for a bunch of people. I feel like it's so important, community, because everyone's pushing each
Yeah.
other, right?
Is that while you're still in Colorado in Boulder?
Yes. I only moved out of Colorado about 3 years ago.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
the New York thing is like relatively
After
new.
the
So
pandemic.
the reason it says Queens
Yes.
is very new. I'm just kidding.
Well, I didn't realize it was like that.
I'm just kidding.
Wait, I don't get the joke. I'm sorry.
No. He puts Queens like he's been there forever.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Nah.
What are you talking about?
What are you
This is
talking
just
about?
this is what we sound like in Colorado. Just based in Queens. And I am based, and I'm in Queens. Although in this specific moment, I'm not in Queens. But I am based.
I am based. I like that. No, so that's awesome. And so you just like, so most of what we're talking about, will you be you in at least Colorado for the first part of it?
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. Like, so, when you were making beats and stuff in high school and slowly maybe even coming out of high school, were you performing any of this music anywhere, or is it just kind of a thing that you were doing between you and your friends?
It was, I was, I don't even want to say booked, but like we would bug people who were having house parties, me and my friends, to let us just like play electro house
Yeah.
on the sound system for like 3 hours. And it's, it's like the classic thing of like the only people in the room are the DJs.
Yeah.
And we would
Yeah.
just stand there, and like me and my friend Grant, we would just like stand there and play music, and one of us would go stand in front of the speakers and be like, yeah. And then we'd like trade places, and the other would go, yeah. It's like, so if you call that playing shows, I mean, I was DJing with Virtual DJ and just like listening to our tracks out and playing a bunch of stuff that we liked. But in terms of like shows, not really.
No?
That didn't come until I would say much later.
Okay.
Nice.
Like how much later?
I would say probably my first shows would have been in like 2014 or 2015.
Okay.
It wasn't until after I had like started going by the name Evoke that I really started playing shows, because I had my first release with Frequent, like I talked about.
Mm.
What was your first name?
I've had so many. I've had, because again, doing it since I was 14. So I was Panda Musics, and then I was Red AX, and then I was Psilocybin, which that you could track my exact personality along these. And then there was another one, and then I was Alias, ALIUS, and then now Evoke.
Okay.
And I'm sure there's some Euphoriac. I was Euphoriac at one point,
Like
which I
that.
maintain is a good name, but it's just not appropriate for what I was doing anymore.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I started like really identifying with Evoke and kind of like connecting to like the principle and purpose of that as a project that it was like, okay, I'm like understanding it now, and I'm playing shows, and got booked for some cool like international stuff, like up in Calgary, had a few shows with Frequent, which was really, really great. And then gigging around Denver, opener for a couple acts.
Cool.
Cool.
How were you performing your music? Do you DJ it?
At the time, performing live electronic music is a really weird thing. because no one knows what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that it took me a while to figure out that adding more stuff to my live set was not benefiting me or my audience. And so a big part of what I do now is a lot of it is automated. I focus much more on the like energy and performance, because almost all of my music is vocally driven, whether that's like singing or rap or whatever it is,
Yeah.
my own vocals. And so it is, my experience has been that the biggest value that I get is, instead of like giving myself a bunch of time sensitive, like quick time events to just like press buttons and hope that it's at the right timing, it's better for me to be like fully present with the audience, fully
Yeah.
engaged with my performance and giving like 100%. So right now that is just a lot of automation of like reverb kicks in on the chorus, delay kicks in on the second
Sure.
verse, certain, certain ends of phrases, words that I know I want to emphasize with ascend, whatever it is.
Cool.
Is this all in Ableton then at this
Yes.
point? Nice.
Mhm.
Do you do it all in arrangement view?
At the moment, yes, but what I've been toying with is like being able to move that automation. You can do the like, I know this is like nerdy, but you can do the consolidate to new scene. So you record it, put in all the automation that you want over top of it, and then consolidate that all to a new
Oh.
scene. And then if you just set the mic monitoring to in, you can still have all the automation in real time as you're performing live. Does that make
Oh.
sense?
On your in your session view from the arrangement, if you consolidate that out.
Yeah. There's like, you can right click it and click consolidate time to new scene, and it'll take every single thing that's in your selection vertically and print it to a new scene in session view, including automation.
Is that a new feature?
No. Unbelievably, no. That's been around forever. It's just like,
Out of everything I've seen for tips on this
Yeah.
shit, I've never heard that one.
I need
That's
to take
so
the vocal
cool.
production class.
That's a very good tip.
It's-
What the fuck?
it's really, really nice. And it's, if you just, so you like make a selection on Ableton or you make a selection on arrangement view, and then you right click it, and it's like almost at the very bottom thing of the little menu that pops up when you right click. It's like
Whoa.
tiny.
To all the nerds out there, if you don't want to listen to this part, skip ahead. But this is very good information.
If you don't want to listen, if you're a nerd,
We
I'm
know
here for
you're
you.
here
I'm
for
here
a
for you.
reason.
My people.
No, that's awesome, because I've done some sessions, I've done some live performances like that, but I just lifted an arrangement and then kind of let it go like that, because I saw Anomaly does that, and that
Yep.
was kind of how I learned how to.
Anomaly's so good
It's
live.
so cool, and like everyone in his entire band has an Ableton session going on while they're performing.
Mm.
They all have like an arrangement going on together with the link going. But the how I learned to like really do some of the live stuff I've had to do is with that. But I didn't know you could just bring it to session. I just did leave it on arrangement.
Well, and drawing automation on arrangement view is so much easier.
So
like
it's
not
easy
that
to
it's
see.
not that it's not. Yeah, exactly.
Very easy to visualize.
It's easy to see,
Yeah.
and it's obviously possible in session view, but it's so much easier. You like do it all in arrangement view, and then you're just like, okay, now come over here.
That's dope. That's
Mhm.
cool. Okay.
So I'll automate the whole song, and I haven't, like, that's very new to me. I haven't figured out like what is the actual utility of doing that yet. Like right now, I'm still very much doing arrangement view, and basically what you were saying with Anomaly, where it's just like
Okay.
you can
it's
have,
just going.
You can have it turn on and off your auto tune for verses and choruses,
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what I was using it for
Literally.
my buddy. Yeah.
exactly that.
Mhm.
Whoa.
So yeah,
Is that what you were doing way back in the day?
No, God no, no, God no. Back in the day, I was like trying to use like a launch pad to trigger various different things and blend, the drums from this song with the chords from this song,
Sure.
which is like cool in an abstract sort of way. Does it translate to like a great show? Does it translate, like, for me, the bar with live electronic music is this work I'm doing translating to a better show than pressing the play button?
Yeah.
And a startling amount of the time, the answer is no. That from the audience perspective, you may as well have pressed play on an iPod for all they know of what you're doing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It just looks a little more professional when you do it from a spacebar on a laptop instead.
Yes. Or even better, if you have an Ableton push and you press the play,
Right.
the play button, and then occasionally pretend that you're turning a knob.
Welcome to my set for tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Unmasked. You're lucky this isn't coming out until after.
There you
Yeah,
go.
true. Whatever. There'll be more.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
No, that's
Okay,
so. When you're coming up as a performer as Evoke, were you seeing rise through you doing live performances, or did you see more like influence maybe online, or how were you able to get your name Evoke out into a broader sense, like so that people knew who you were?
It was interesting. It was a lot of community stuff. So I got connected up with a lot of like glitch hop people. There was a YouTube channel at the time called The Glitch Shop that posted a bunch of my things. I was in Facebook groups, and it was just like being like obnoxiously part of a community, like being like the person that's always there on the forums, always like answering questions and giving feedback and doing all of this stuff. I was just like, I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah.
That people like that. People like to feel like they're in a community and feel supported. And so I think that I got a lot of goodwill just from that, of people that were in the community wanting to also support my music. And because of that, sharing their techniques with me and sharing their audience with me and reposting my stuff on SoundCloud. And eventually, so it was mostly through collaboration, with Frequent, with Laura Brem, who I have an EP with, that is like really incredible singer-songwriter. We have an EP called Future Holds that did really, really well, got featured on Suicide Sheep. And from there, it's been, I have some collaborations where I'm like producing, and other collaborations, like I have Departure, where I'm like the singer, like I'm just the vocalist on that track. And so it's been just a lot of working with other people and having the chance to like grow alongside all of these really incredible artists.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Bringing each other up.
Yeah, that's the hope, right?
Mhm.
I feel like that's relatable to the slam community
Oh, absolutely.
here. And can I ask how you found the slam community? Like, how did you
How did we
you
find
become
you?
an instructor here?
Well, I made a Facebook post back in 2014 that said that I liked how the production on Royals by Lord sounded.
Mm.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. No,
Yeah.
there is more to the story. So I got contacted by someone, saw my Facebook post. This is a very long version of this story, but to me
We're
the
here for the
butterfly
time.
the butterfly effect aspect of it is super important. Where I got contacted by this guy who was like, I really like the way that you're talking about music, da 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 da, and he wanted to basically be like, he said, I see a lot of potential for you, having heard my music, and wanted to manage me. And this guy incidentally also managed at the time Mr. Bill.
Oh.
And so we were kind of like running in the same circles and had this mutual connection. And then when Mr. Bill wanted to move from Australia to the US, he was moving to Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And so our manager was like, hey, Alden, can you help Bill get settled in Colorado? And I said, sure, absolutely. So Bill got off the plane, and I picked him up from the airport, and I took him to his apartment, and I took him to get groceries, and I took him to, like it was just like over X amount of time, and more than was asked of me, kind of in that same sense of like, I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what can I do? What do you need? You need a snack? You want me to bring you a pizza? And because of that, when Slam went to open a Colorado campus, the Denver campus, at the Black Box, JP got connected up with Bill and was like, hey, do you know anybody, music production wise, who could be a good fit? And so they contacted me, and I was the assistant to the assistant TA. I was not even, they were like, we probably won't need you to come in, but we just want to make sure that we have people on call in case something happens.
Sure.
Yeah.
And something did happen. The person that was supposed to teach the Ableton class had a family emergency, had to go back to Minneapolis. And the person that stepped in for that person, I'm trying to think how to say this charitably.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good fit
Yeah.
Sure.
for that person.
Yeah.
And so basically there were all of the way down the line, all these things happened to where suddenly it's me.
Yeah.
Suddenly I'm the teacher for the Ableton class. And it turned out to be such a great fit that JP and I were just like, okay. And so I ended up like going from assistant to the assistant to the assistant TA, working my way up to being like eventually the Denver campus manager.
Oh,
Oh,
And then of course
cool.
COVID happened. And
Sure.
so the Denver campus unhappened as a pretty much a direct result of that. But
Yeah.
fudge.
got connected up, and now I teach the online classes.
Oh, cool.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. I actually didn't know anything about the Denver campus, like not being there anymore.
Yeah, it was Denver's such a weird city and so like sprawling that it was if we didn't have like a perfectly central location, it was tough. So there were a couple factors, but COVID was really the thing where it was like,
Sure.
suddenly not a lot of people wanted to just go get in a room together and learn cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad that people do want to get in a room together and learn cool stuff now. It makes me very happy.
Yeah. The community is coming back.
Yes. Very thankful for that.
Mhm.
And music is getting fun again,
Yeah.
which I think is really cool. I love that house is happening right now. I love that people want to dance.
Yeah.
I feel like it was like, even before 2020, there was this thing of like pop music, dance music, dubstep, all of that being so like down in the dumps or just like dark or moody.
Also like, oh, EDM? No, I'm
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
Like, oh, I don't listen to that
Mhm.
computer sing or like computer singing or whatever.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know. But yeah, now everybody's doing electronic
As well they
music.
should.
Yeah.
As well they should.
They want to be happy like the rest of us.
Yes. Like we have been
Yeah.
since
I love you
2009.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So I think it's just so, it's weird for me to think about that the reason that I'm here sitting in this room with the two of you having this conversation is because of one Facebook post that I made.
Yeah.
Like, it's just one of those things. I feel like there's so many things where if you actually draw the line backwards in time, you end up at some so arbitrary thing where if I had decided just to keep my opinions about royals to myself that day,
Yeah.
I would not be here sitting with you. That's nuts.
Yeah.
That is mind blowing to
Yeah.
bring it back to that single moment.
Yeah. Really, really weird stuff.
Royals is a good song though.
That
so.
is. I'm
It
going to
is.
listen to it on my drive
It is.
home now.
And
Big
the
bangs.
and the thing about it, like the reason that I was having the conversation was someone was like, "Oh, the production on this sucks." I'm like, "No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's just simple,
Yeah.
and that's different."
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
If you can make something sound so big with so little things, it's a very elegant thing in itself.
Hard agree.
Mhm.
Agree. 100%.
So going into elegant things, when you sit in front of your a blank Ableton session, what are some things that get you motivated to be creative? Like, how do you start a track and/or get into the mindset that you're going to create a new piece of music or a piece of music?
Yeah, it's interesting. So my process, I would say, as compared to the process of most other artists that I've seen or worked with, is incredibly chaotic. Like, is full nonsense. So the analogy that I like to use is, and I was just talking to Zach Zuby about this, the Slam campus manager and just excellent musician and teacher.
Mhm.
And we had talked about the analogy of sketching. Like, as an artist, you're not always making paintings, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the times you're opening up your notebook and you're sketching, you're, doing charcoal, you're doing studies of like figures and stuff like that. Practice and also you never know when one of those sketches is going to turn out to be something where you're like, oh, this needs to be on canvas. This needs to be, fully realized. So most of the time, I would say I almost never open Ableton saying I'm going to make a banger song.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I open Ableton and I'm like, I just got Ableton 12 and I haven't really even touched meld yet. Like, what even is meld? And so I open it up and then like 3 hours later, it's like, oh, this is like the best song I've ever made. You know what I mean? It's like, because it is, for me, the creative process is so much about play, is so much about, I always have trouble collaborating with people who are like, what genre are we making? Like, should we do a house tune? Should we do this? Like, I want to do something that's inspired by this. I'm like, that's great. If the song pulls me in a different direction, I cannot be helped. Like, I am following the muse down that rabbit hole.
Must listen to the muse.
Yes.
Do you have a lot of music theory or like musical backgrounds that'll help you with that type of stuff? Like, I have no musical background, so whenever I produce, it's very like, I know how to keep things in key and I can throw shit at the wall after that.
That's basically where I'm at. Yeah. Like, I don't, so for my process, I think a lot of people, like singer-songwriters, and I would actually be curious to ask you about this. I don't know if I'm allowed to interview you too, but I would love to. A lot of singer-songwriters start with melody and then do lyrics and then produce their songs around that. And for me, it's like almost exactly the opposite. I start with the music and then I do the lyrics and then I find a melody that works with the lyrics that I've written. And sometimes I have to tweak the lyrics a little bit just so that it like fits in the meter and feels good. But melody for me, for almost that exact reason of it's not like my music theory background is not one.
Yeah,
and
it's
and
like
so so a lot of the times it's the way that I write my melodies is by noodling, by like having a beat going like like just being
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, and then you do it like 6 times in a row, and then if one of them is good, you're like, you build again. It's the sketching thing of like, I'm just
Yeah.
like doodling and like, what could go here? That sucks. What could go here? That sucks. And you do that enough times, something's gonna be good.
Yeah.
You know?
You just got to go mining.
Yes, mining.
for
That's one.
melodies.
Yeah, so I'm curious for
Yeah.
you, what's your process?
A little bit of everything, honestly. Like, I don't know. If I am starting to produce my own beat, then I'm probably going to stop at the beat because I'm going to get tired of the song. But if I start with somebody else's beat or like just YouTube for inspiration, then I like to just sit in front of a microphone with it recording and see what happens. And then sometimes I'll think of words or I'll just start talking into the microphone. Sometimes I just start singing and like layering different harmonies. And maybe that pulls some lyrics out of me. And I don't know, I tend to lean more towards like the freestyling aspect into a microphone. And then I like chop it up and copy paste and rewrite the lyrics a little bit. I don't
Love
know.
that.
But I've done it a lot of different ways too. That's just my recent like past couple years.
That's a good point. It changes over time, right? It's
Yeah.
like your approach. It's so interesting. I have projects dating all the way back to 2013. And every once in a while I'll open one up and it's like, what was I doing?
Yeah.
What is any of this? Why is all of this arranged in this way? Like, I feel like it's the same with my creative process where I look back at stuff from even a few years ago and it's like, how did I do that? Like, what was my method for doing any of this? I feel like there's always a thing, other than super recently, there's always the thing where I'm like, 3 years ago, I had it all figured out. That was my creative genius with 3 years ago. And then what I make then, I like 3 years later listen back to it and I was like, I was onto something there.
Yeah.
Same thing. But yeah, I think that one of the things that I really, that is like important to me, that resonates a lot with me in the creative process, is not being bound by rules or genres or expectations from others. I think that as soon as you start trying to nail down, like, what am I trying to do? It's like, well, you've restricted yourself.
Make good music.
Yeah.
You've put a wall up.
Yeah.
I have a lot of trouble making music with somebody that's like that too, because it's very restricting and like, okay, we need to finish this song. And it's like, well, what if I don't need to finish that song? Like, you told me that we need to finish it. Now I don't want to finish it. Because
Right, like according to who? You know, like if it needed to be finished, it would be.
Right.
Yeah, if it was good, we'd try to finish.
If it wanted to be finished, it would manifest itself in that way.
Yeah.
I just, and it's so much of, I feel like there's an aspect of it that relates to like my own lived experience as well. That is like, I feel like, and there's this language creation, like correlation, but there's to me a lot of parallels to be drawn between like genre and gender. Like if you look at the words, they're almost the same word. It is like about classification and the assignment of characteristics to a thing. And like genre is for journalists. It is like, it is something that is used from the outside to describe a thing that already exists. And it can be useful in some contexts to sort of understand, understanding the genre of EDM is like, that you should expect to hear it probably on a big sound system or at a festival or something like that, right? Whereas folk, maybe the intended context is someone sitting on a rock with an acoustic guitar, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's some parallels to gender in that way of like, it's not that it's useless. I think that some people go to that place of like, oh, gender is useless, or obviously, I don't know the audience of, people have varying levels of familiarity with this topic.
Yeah.
An inclusive community from Slam is the audience. So
Okay.
Yeah.
go in.
You're goddamn right. And what was I going to say? I think that there is this thing, to me, the comparison is really apt because as a like non-binary person, it's not that I don't believe that there is utility in understanding the context in which a person is meant to be understood, right? Like there is something useful that is communicated by that. Otherwise, we wouldn't make a distinction at all, right?
Sure.
But I will say that there are, in the same way that there are artists or entire movements that are best understood as existing outside of the concept of genre, that there are songs where asking what genre is this dilutes it. I feel, and what I've observed in myself and in other non-binary people or people that are genderqueer or even gender questioning or just haven't found that association yet, is that those people are deluded by having a gender like assigned to them. That like it is sort of. Does that make sense? Does that like?
I think so.
Yeah.
To me, it's making sense, especially with both those topics of genre having to be so defined on something and a person maybe as well. Something can't just be like, hey, this is dubstep. It's like has the sounds, but it also doesn't feel like it. There's
Right.
so many ways to describe a song. So
Yeah.
when you were saying the whole it's a journalist thing, that made a lot of sense because I think especially people in the scene or people right outside of it's like we don't like. I just say bass music or psychedelic bass music or EDM, and that's like the three. I say bass music is for the weirder stuff, EDM is for the more poppy stuff. It's festivals. If you leave that blanket over everything, then it's a lot easier than being like, all right, we got electro house bass tech now. It's like it's so hard to hit those notes.
Let's start describing stuff about like how we feel and how it makes us feel instead of like
Happy house,
Yeah.
happy
you wanna
organic
shake
smiling
your
house.
ass or you want to look at the clouds.
Ass music or cloud music? Pick
That's
one.
it. No, we're
Ass
gonna
cloud fusion.
Now we're creating genres again.
and
Fuck.
now we're
Damn it. No.
No.
Not like this.
You can do both. You can do both. It's okay.
I feel like the term bass music has done so much for the culture though, because I remember it was like, is this glitch hop or is it drum step or is it neuro hop or is it, it's like, and I feel like honestly, genuinely, not ironically, I think that using the term bass music has allowed for much more interesting stuff to happen.
Yeah.
Because it just has to have bass.
Yeah.
And then you're there,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah.
that's such a freeing, like in a weird way, I'm like, that's actually a great
Term. That's the one I
Term.
use the most, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not really a genre.
yeah.
It's just like, categorically there's some stuff that has a loud, low
Right.
frequency in it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when
And
you hear bass music, you have an idea. It's gonna have like good drums, synths, and a drop most
Yep.
likely.
Yeah. There's like tropes of
Yeah.
the genre, but it's not like, I wouldn't say it's restrictive.
Never.
Yeah. You'll find it in like any genre.
What would you consider? I'm not even gonna say that now.
No, I do not consider. That's my approach.
Bye bye.
I am inconsiderate.
And that's why the music happens.
So
It's a fair question, though. I think the one that, but and I was just, were you going to ask like what genre would I consider my music to be? Yeah. It's a fair question. Oh, and this is what I'm saying is like, it's not that the terms aren't useful because,
Sorry.
okay, no. We're
Goose
breathing.
of
This is fun.
So what would you consider your genreless music?
No, it is, and this is kind of my point, is that it's not that it's totally useless, right? Because if this is, someone who has not heard my music and they're watching me talk and they're like, what the can I curse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the fuck should I expect from if I go to this person's Spotify, what the fuck should I expect to hear?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And if I say it's like edgy pop with bass music influences and a lot of influence from hip hop, it's like people have maybe a sense of what to expect from that.
Yeah.
Am I going to say specifically I make electro pop or hyper pop or something like that? No,
Yeah.
No.
because that's there are very few, if any, artists that actually neatly fit into those labels, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of the time, the label, like for example, like Charlie XCX, is arguably one of the people that the term hyperpop was coined by journalists to describe her music and the music of people that are assigned to like PC music, like Sophie, rest in peace, or gosh, I can't think of any of the other PC music people. Oh, A.G. Cook. And that term came to describe those artists. It's not that the artists were trying to meet the genre. The genre had to
Give
come
it a
into
name.
existence to
Yeah.
meet the artists. And go ahead.
I was gonna say no. That's. I liked how you described maybe the core of a lot of other established kind of genres like hip hop, electro, and all those types of stuff to describe your stuff because that gives an easier way to think of what your music might be than like I just make electro da or
Mhm.
dubstep da. It's like no, it's like bassy music inspired by hip hop drums with melodic elements.
Yeah.
You can get a lot more understanding of what might happen than like I just make fucking bass music
Right.
or what you
Right.
were to say. But I think that giving a couple different genres that influence the music you're making might be a better way to describe genre at that point.
Yeah.
I've heard other people describe music theory as that too. Like music theory is just describing what has already happened. And it's like a set of rules, but really you don't have to follow any of them and you can do whatever you want by how you're feeling. So
yeah,
that makes sense.
Or
to
it's
me.
a lot like chasing numbers on a meter. Like you're trying to like make your song sound good, and so you're like, how many luffs? You know, like, and it's like that's not.
No one gives a shit.
No one cares. You know? Like someone's not like listening on Spotify. Like the luffs on this goes crazy.
the kids, especially right now, can give a fuck about sound quality. If you heard like yeet and all that type of shit, like,
yeah,
like sound quality out the window, bro.
Vibes-based infrastructure. Vibes-based infrastructure.
Yeah, 100%.
So
I wanna pivot a little bit. Is that okay?
Why?
I
feel like this is gold.
It is. I want more.
Swing, sparkle, sparkle.
Sorry, go ahead.
I want some little sparkles on the camera.
Yay. Tossing them on.
All right.
Again, tossing them on.
Beautiful. I want to ask about if you're signed to any management or label right now, or are you independent?
I am indie.
Okay.
I am indie. I distribute all my own music, and right now I am as indie as an artist actually can get, in that I produce, record, perform, mix, master, and distribute my music all myself.
Whoa.
Like no one else touches the
Very
project files.
cool.
So it is like I am so indie that it is exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah. I tried to do that.
Yeah, it's
a
tough.
lot.
It's a lot, but it's kind of a similar thing of like, you know, playing Guitar Hero until you get the guitar, or like using the crappy program until you finally get the real program. It's just like, you know, you do what you can with the resources that you've got. And for me, it was like, I never had money. And so it's like, well, if you don't have money, you've got to figure out how to mix your own music, because you can't hire a mixing engineer. You can't master your own. I do my own album art now because it's like, you know, all of those things, each of those things individually, even if you're being very conservative with the costs, it's like,
it adds up so fast.
Yeah.
There's so many things that you have to do to release one piece of
one
art.
song. Yeah.
It's like, we're paying you guys to release our music, just to let you guys know. I haven't gotten $100 off any songs, and I've paid way more than $100 to put out a song.
Yes.
The album art,
100%.
the freaking keeping it on Spotify.
And you're like recording your own YouTube videos, and are you editing all of those yourself too, and releasing all of those?
Yeah. So one of the things I'm actually trying to do right now is I'm like in communication with some people, and I don't know if they are far along in their process that I'm at liberty to discuss like who they are.
Sure.
But I'm working with some people who are helping me with some of the administrative stuff, and like kind of helping to get some of that off of my plate, because really where I want to be at is to be able to focus on the stuff that I know. Like, I know I'm an incredible vocalist, producer, performer, right?
Yeah.
And I think I am a quite good mixing engineer. I think I'm a good mastering engineer. I think I'm like a C+ visual artist. You know, like my album art, I think like looks good.
Yeah.
You know, and I would love to work with an artist where I see it and I'm like, that's incredible.
Yeah.
But it's like you add that extra, you know, money and that extra time and having to build that extra relationship. It's just so I'm trying to build a team right now of people that will like be part of the project, because I've been doing it by myself for so long.
Yeah.
Half an
That's a
Evoke.
lot.
Since
Half an Evoke ago.
For half an entire Evoke. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Congratulations on like making that step.
Thank you.
Yeah, even though it's not like set in stone, but
It's
that is
happening.
that's a big leap
Yeah.
to have
it
people
is.
help you.
And I won't lie, it actually is very difficult, because, you know, it started out out of necessity, but there is a really wonderful feeling of creative control in that. And kind of like what we had talked about before, working with other people, there's an extent to which you need to kind of like find the lowest common denominator, where you're like, what is the actual communication that we can have that makes us both understand what we're trying to make? Whereas if you have like full creative control over the thing, you can follow that muse wherever it takes you. You can wander off into the woods, never to return. You know, like, and that's scary, but it's also so empowering to where if you're working with a team, you're like, how do I communicate what we're even doing? It's its own unique challenge.
I've worked with the team. It's hard.
Yeah.
Just communicate, even just like working with one other person is so hard. I don't understand how bands ever work.
Truly.
How do you get 5 dudes to like keep a
Like,
whole idea
On
together?
a bus together
I know.
for months?
I know. Like all my projects are mean one other dude, and it's a lot. It's a lot.
I have trouble being on a bus
Yeah.
with myself for like an hour. Like, I don't know how it ever happens.
Yeah,
It's
dude.
crazy.
I mean, it can't be any worse than a Greyhound bus, right? Like,
that's the truth. That's the
I feel like if you're on a band tour, you're touring in a band full of a bus full of people. You've been through worse shit than that. And you probably are like, okay, that's fine.
That's a good point.
I'll take a private bus with my 5 friends that we're all fighting right now, but it's fine.
It's like,
And I have a song about it. And they have to sing it.
Exactly.
Lord.
See, it makes everybody money.
Now I want a band.
it's fun. Bands are fun.
Bands are fun. I will say that I am excited to like perform. Well, I have a guitarist performing with me tomorrow, but like so much easier to coordinate. Like, it's just
Drummers.
Yeah.
Am I right? Like, I don't even think I need to elaborate on that anymore. Do I?
But we were blessed to have a really good drummer in our band.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still a drummer. You are right.
No, he's in recovery now. He's better. He was a drummer, but he's doing better now.
The problem is they're in so many other bands because there are other drummers out there. And so other drummers need substitutes for other drummers.
Yep.
And when you get a good one, you know, people snag them.
Yeah.
Were you ever in a band?
No, I've done kind of a similar thing of like being on stage with a guitarist. Like one of my first ever live performances was actually with another really, really talented guitarist. But mostly solo.
Do you play any instruments now?
I play guitar.
Oh, cool.
I play guitar.
You actually learned from the guitar hero, then.
I did. I literally did. I literally did. So I play guitar, and I have it on some of my songs with my guitar. I have done it live. I usually, if I do it live, I break it out for like a song.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's in the same like tier list of like things I'm excellent, good, you know, okay. I'm like very much in the like okay at guitar. I'm like, yeah, I'm like a 7 out of 10 guitarist.
You play it so you can show them you do it. They freak out, and you're like, all right.
The rest recorded.
Not to put too fine of a point on it, but yes, literally exactly that. Check it out. Okay, anyway.
Back to my voice.
Hypothetically, I could do that for hours, right?
So now, going back into performing, are you actively performing now? Are you doing gigs around New York and stuff as well?
Yeah. I just this most recent Friday, which we're filming this is not going to be out for a long time, but yes, I guess is the more relevant answer. I've been playing shows at least 1 or 2 a month since like really like reconnecting. Like I didn't release music as Evoke for kind of a while. I just like fell out of love with the idea of it for a bit and had just like a period of like dark weirdness in my life and have just like reconnected with Evoke and like myself again in a major way. And so I've been releasing music. I like since November of last year, I've been releasing like song every month, more or less, of just like reconnecting with those ideas. Some of them are literally like reworks of sketches from 2015.
Oh, cool.
So
Don't throw them away, guys.
No.
Literally. Oh my God.
Yeah, don't throw them away.
Back up your projects. Please.
Even if it's a little loop.
Yeah.
Have old loops that bang.
Yeah. And so yeah, I'm playing shows. I'm playing shows now.
Are you booking them yourself?
It's been kind of a communal thing.
Okay.
So just like, again, getting connected up with people who are booking shows. And so me and a lot of other, like we just did this show called Queer Across America, Commencement, which was me and Woe and a couple, Julo, Maines, Peyton Benj, a lot of other just like really talented queer and ally artists in the New York City area. We just like came together and we're like, we're going to, rent out this bar and like put on a killer show. And it was a great show.
Cool.
So it's a community thing, right?
Yeah.
Like just getting connected up with other people that are doing the cool shit.
Mm-hmm. And it does take a village to put on something like that.
Truly.
Mm-hmm.
Even to literally have the conversation with the person who books the shows.
Yeah.
It's like, you need to have a crew
to
be able to even open those doors at all.
Yeah.
For like a random bar,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much less like actual shows.
How is it booking shows and getting stuff together in New York?
New York is very interesting because it's like there is something, it's so dense that there's like something for everybody, I feel, where you may not be booking the biggest, like it's not like I'm at Madison Square Garden or something, but there's so many people in New York and so much density and so much going on that there's like something for everybody.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, you can book like 5 different people that are all like queer and allied artists in a thing, and like, yeah, people show up because there's so many people, you know. It's like I feel it's very empowering to be able to do kind of whatever you want. Whereas even, and part of this was just where I was at in the scene at the time, but even in Colorado, there was in Denver, there was this feeling of like it's a little bit more sparse, and so like the further into a niche you go, the fewer people are in that pocket, right? That's just how it works.
Yeah.
But in New York, it's such a big pocket in the first place that it's like, yeah, you're going to find a community anywhere.
Yeah.
That's
doing
awesome.
anything. Yeah, it's awesome.
Did you move there already knowing people in a specific community, or did you work your way in from scratch?
I moved there to be with my now wife.
Okay.
Oh.
So I knew one person
Yeah.
in New York, and then I married her, and yeah, and so from there it has just been building up. Like any of the community and meeting other artists has been just through sheer force of will.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Did you kind of what we've been having a lot of discussions with? Is it like, were you like continuing just doing the I'm showing up and being at all the events and being a part of that, and then they saw you and you slowly kind of got into the community that way?
I would say so. I mean, I think for me, it's so important to be genuine with this, but you gotta, and this is part of why I love teaching too, is I want other people to succeed. I don't want your music to suck.
Yeah.
I want your music to be really, really great. Like and so I really want to share that information freely. And if I have the time, I will absolutely do what I can to help people succeed.
Yeah.
So like teaching is great for that because it's just like, that's what people expect. That's the format. But even on the day to day, right? Like if someone is like, hey, what do you think of this? Like I'll give the detailed response of like, here is what I think. I think that your performance is good here. I think you could redo these takes, this and this and this. And so in doing that, again, from a genuine place, it's like I become a resource for some people.
Yeah.
And so they keep up with what I'm doing. And then if I do something that they like, they're like, hey, that was cool. Will you be part of this other thing that we're doing?
Yeah.
Like, it's just so, I feel like being a genuine, active part of a community is probably the most fulfilling thing that you can do, like independent of like career, but B, it's actually a great career move. Right? Because you're getting connected. Like when people talk about networking, it's like, well, don't network.
Yeah.
Just like be a valuable part of a community of people that are doing something you're excited about.
I hate that word, networking.
Yeah.
Oh, that we should just say that. Be a valuable part of the community that you're trying to be a part of.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, then have
Tiny
network
font.
and then exit out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. And it's a general consensus too of people who have made this their career. Like a lot of people that we have been talking to have said the exact same thing, is just be genuine with your intent, and then one thing spirals into another. Exhibit A, your Facebook post about Royal.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that was genuine.
Yeah.
And it spiraled into whatever this is, you know?
And I think that people get this, and part of it is like the like social mediaification of like how like people feel like they need to be a brand.
Yeah.
And so you get what is, you know, in theory at its core, originally good advice, which is like meeting people is important, right? Meeting other people that are doing something that is related to what you want to be doing is an important thing to do. And then that gets gradually like systematized and diluted and messed up until it's eventually becomes networking, which is you need to prove your value to people that have what you want. It's like, that's a whole different sentence to what is the truth, which is if you are valuable to your community, they will want you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight up, you know? And so just like be a valuable part of a community, and then they'll want you to be there.
And maybe you're in the wrong community, and maybe you should like just try a little bit of a couple different things out to feel where you fit in the most.
Yeah, I mean, if it sucks, do something else. That's like, it's a motto that I live by.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you, you know, I've I've quit bad jobs. I've ended bad relationships. And it's like, yeah, it sucks, but
What's the alternative? Just
Yeah.
sucking longer?
just doing a bad thing forever, right? Like, if it sucks, do something else.
Yeah,
Straight
You
up.
can stop doing stuff you don't like, guys.
100%.
And please do.
But if you like doing stuff, Slam Academy.
Yeah.
Can teach you to do some stuff you
Put
love.
that on a t-shirt. If you like doing stuff, and then the Slam Academy logo.
There we go.
SlamCast.
SlamCast.